I sat alone in my house in the silence, and I let myself cry. Not gentle tears. Ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep and primal. I cried for the marriage I'd thought I had. I cried for the sister I'd trusted. I cried for the version of Sasha Brennan who'd woken up this morning thinking her life was intact. That night, I didn't sleep in our bedroom. I couldn't. The thought of lying in that bed, in those sheets, made my stomach turn. I made up the couch in the den with a blanket and a pillow, and I stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, Margaret called at 7. I have news. Not good news, but useful news. Tell me. I had my investigator run a preliminary check. Your husband has been withdrawing cash. Small amounts, 200 here, 300 there, but consistent. Over the past 3 years, we're looking at approximately $75,000 unaccounted for. I closed my eyes. He was giving it to her. That's my assumption. We'll need to prove it. I've also found hotel charges. Weekend trips. Always when you were visiting your mother or traveling for work. How did I not see this? Because you trusted them, Margaret said simply. That's not a character flaw, Sasha. That's being a decent human being. They exploited that. Now we make them pay for it. Over the next 2 weeks, the evidence piled up. Credit card statements showing jewelry purchases I'd never received. Texts between Daniel and Maya that made my skin crawl with their casual cruelty. References to me as the wife. As if I were an obstacle to be managed rather than a person they'd both claimed to love. Photos from trips they'd taken together, posed like a couple, smiling like they hadn't just betrayed someone who'd given them everything. Margaret built her case methodically. Every piece of evidence, every receipt, every text message, all organized into a file that grew thicker by the day. She requested financial discovery, property evaluations, business valuations for Daniel's consulting firm. Here's what I'm thinking, she said during one of our meetings. We don't just win this divorce. We make it a lesson. Your sister doesn't have legal exposure beyond potential alienation claims, but your husband does. He's been stealing from the marriage. He's been committing adultery. In Connecticut, that matters. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we make him regret every choice he's made. Legally, cleanly, but thoroughly. I thought about it. Part of me, the part that had been raised to be nice and accommodating, wanted to just end things quietly. But another part, a harder part that had been growing since I found them together, wanted justice. Do it, I said. Meanwhile, my family was fracturing. My mother called me in tears after Maya confessed what had happened. How could she do this to you? How could he? I don't know, Mom. Your father would have been devastated. He loved you girls so much. My older brother, Marcus, was more direct. He called Daniel and told him exactly what he thought of him, using language I'd never heard my brother use before. He called Maya too, and she apparently broke down crying, begging for forgiveness. Marcus told her to lose his number. The funny thing about betrayal is how it reorganizes your entire understanding of reality. I kept replaying moments from the past 3 years, seeing them differently now. The time Maya insisted on house-sitting while we were on vacation. The weekend Daniel claimed he had a business conference but came home smelling like perfume. The knowing looks I'd occasionally caught between them that I dismissed as inside jokes or sibling familiarity. All of it had been right in front of me. I threw myself into work. Numbers didn't lie. Spreadsheets didn't betray you. My colleagues at the firm noticed I was staying later, working harder, but they didn't pry. Small mercies. 6 weeks after everything fell apart, Margaret called with an update. The judge has set a hearing date. 2 weeks from now. Daniel's lawyer is pushing for a 50-50 split of assets. They're claiming the adultery is irrelevant to property division. Is it? Not in Connecticut. Not with our evidence. Not when we can show financial misconduct. I'm confident, Sasha, but I need you to be prepared. This is going to be ugly. His lawyer will try to paint you as a cold, absent workaholic who drove him into your sister's arms. They'll argue you neglected the marriage. I worked 60 hours a week to pay his business loans, I said, my voice sharp. I know. And we'll make sure the judge knows too. But you need to be ready for the mudslinging. Can you handle that? I thought about it. Could I sit in a courtroom and listen to my husband's lawyer trash my character? Could I watch Daniel spin a narrative where I was the villain in our story? Yes, I said. I can handle it. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning. I dressed carefully that day. Navy suit, pearl earrings, minimal makeup. Professional, composed, dignified. Margaret met me on the courthouse steps. Remember, she said. Stay calm. Don't react to anything his lawyer says. Let me handle it. We walked into the courtroom together. Daniel was already there with his attorney, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. Daniel looked thinner than I remembered. Older. He didn't meet my eyes. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. Judge Patricia Hammond. Margaret had said she was fair but tough, with little patience for nonsense. Daniel's attorney went first. He painted a picture of a marriage that had been dying for years, a wife who prioritized career over family, a husband who found comfort elsewhere after years of emotional neglect. He made Maya sound like an innocent bystander who'd simply offered friendship to a lonely man. He glossed over the adultery, dismissed the financial evidence, and requested an equitable division of all marital assets. Then it was Margaret's turn. She stood slowly, gathered her papers, and approached the bench. Your Honor, the petitioner would like to submit evidence. What followed was a systematic destruction of Daniel's narrative. Margaret presented the bank records showing the cash withdrawals. She presented the credit card statements showing the hotel stays, always on weekends when I was away. She presented the jewelry receipts, and then showed photographs of Maya wearing that same jewelry on social media, tagged with dates that corresponded to the purchases. Then came the text messages. Margaret had them printed and bound, hundreds of pages of correspondence between Daniel and Maya. The judge read them silently, her expression growing harder with each page. Mr. Brennan, she said finally, did you write these messages? Daniel's lawyer started to object, but the judge cut him off with a look. Yes, Your Honor, Daniel said quietly. And Miss Torres is Mrs. Brennan's sister? Yes. How long did this affair continue? 3 years, Your Honor. 3 years. The judge set down the papers. And during this time, Mrs. Brennan was unaware? Yes. Because you both lied to her consistently, systematically, and with premeditation. It wasn't a question, but Daniel answered anyway. Yes, Your Honor. I came home early on a Wednesday. The accounting firm where I'd worked for 18 years had a server crash, and my manager sent everyone home by noon. I'm Sasha Brennan, 54 years old, and I've lived in Riverside, Connecticut my entire life. That Wednesday was the day my marriage of 26 years ended, though I didn't know it yet when I pulled into our driveway on Willow Lane. The house looked the same as always. White colonial with black shutters, the hedges I'd trimmed last weekend, Daniel's SUV parked in its usual spot. I grabbed my briefcase and purse, feeling grateful for an unexpected afternoon at home. Maybe I'd surprise him with an early dinner. Maybe we'd actually talk for once, the way we used to before our conversations became scheduling updates and bill discussions. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the quiet hallway. The grandfather clock my mother gave us ticked steadily in the living room. Everything smelled normal, coffee and the faint vanilla from the candles I kept on the mantel. I set my things down and called out, Daniel, I'm home early. No answer. I walked toward the kitchen, thinking he might be in the garage or the backyard. That's when I heard it. Music playing softly from upstairs. Not our bedroom. The guest room at the end of the hall. And underneath the music, voices. Laughing. A woman's voice I recognized immediately. My sister's voice. My hand gripped the banister. Everything inside me went cold, not hot, just cold, like I'd been dipped in ice water. I climbed those stairs slowly, each step deliberate. The guest room door stood half open. Afternoon light filtered through the curtains I'd hung there last spring, the pale blue ones I'd found on sale at HomeGoods. I pushed the door open. They were on the bed. Daniel and my sister Maya, tangled in sheets I'd washed 3 days ago. They didn't see me at first. Daniel's back was to the door. Maya's eyes were closed, her dark hair spread across the pillow. The same dark hair we'd inherited from our mother. The same hair she used to let me braid when we were children. I must have made a sound, a gasp or a breath or something, because they both froze. Maya's eyes opened. They met mine. For one long second, nobody moved. Then she screamed, grabbing at the sheets. Daniel turned, his face going from flushed to white in an instant. "Sasha." His voice cracked. We weren't." I didn't let him finish. I walked to the dresser, opened my jewelry box sitting there, the one I'd brought up last week because I was thinking of donating some old earrings, and I took off my wedding ring. 26 years condensed into a thin band of gold. I set it down gently on the dresser top, next to a photo of Daniel and me from our honeymoon in Maine. "Get dressed," I said quietly. "Both of you. Then get out of my house." Maya started crying. "Sasha, please let me explain." "Get out." I turned and walked downstairs. My legs felt steady. My breathing felt controlled. Everything inside me had gone numb, like my body knew I needed to function and emotions would have to wait. I walked to the kitchen, picked up my phone, and called my lawyer. Her name was Margaret Reeves, sharp and efficient, the kind of woman who wore perfectly tailored suits and never wasted words. I'd met her at a charity fundraiser 2 years ago. We'd exchanged cards. I never thought I'd need her. "Margaret," I said when she answered. "It's Sasha Brennan. I need to file for divorce. Today." There was a brief pause. "Are you somewhere safe?" "I'm home. He's here. My sister's here. I found them together." "Don't leave the house," she said immediately. "That's your marital property. Don't say anything else to either of them." "I'm coming over now." "Give me 30 minutes. I hung up and sat at the kitchen table. The same table where we'd eaten breakfast this morning. Where Daniel had kissed my cheek and said he loved me before heading to his office. Where I'd texted Maya about Sunday dinner at Mom's house and she'd responded with a heart emoji. 26 years of marriage. 37 years of sisterhood. All of it a lie. I heard them upstairs, moving around, whispering urgently. Then footsteps on the stairs. Daniel appeared first, fully dressed now, his face pleading. Maya hung back in the hallway, mascara smeared, refusing to look at me. "Sasha, we need to talk about this," Daniel said. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man I'd met when I was 28. This man who'd proposed on a beach at sunset. This man who'd held my hand through my father's funeral. This man who'd shared my bed for more than 2 decades. "How long?" I asked. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "It doesn't matter." "How long, Daniel?" Maya stepped forward, her voice small. 3 years. The words hit like a physical blow. 3 years. While I'd been planning family holidays. While I'd been caring for our aging mother. While I'd been working 60-hour weeks to help pay off Daniel's business loans. 3 years of them laughing at me. 3 years of family dinners where they'd smiled at me across the table. 3 years of Maya calling me every week to chat about nothing while she was sleeping with my husband. "Get out," I said again. "Both of you. Now." "Sasha, this is my house too," Daniel started. "Not for long." The doorbell rang. Margaret had made good time. I opened the door to find her standing there with a leather briefcase and a young man I didn't recognize. "This is James, my paralegal," she said, stepping inside. "He'll document everything." She looked past me at Daniel and Maya. "Mr. Brennan. Ms. Torres. I'm Margaret Reeves, Sasha's attorney. You'll want to leave now." Daniel's jaw tightened. "This is my house." "Actually," Margaret said, pulling a folder from her briefcase, "the deed shows Sasha's name first. She provided 70% of the down payment from her inheritance, and Connecticut is an equitable distribution state with a heavy lien toward the wronged party in cases of adultery. You'll want to find somewhere else to stay while we sort this out. Both of you." Maya was crying harder now. "Sasha, please, you're my sister." "I don't have a sister anymore," I said. She flinched like I'd struck her. Good. I wanted her to hurt the way I was hurting. I wanted both of them to feel every ounce of the pain currently crushing my chest. Margaret handed Daniel a business card. "My office will be in touch tomorrow with next steps. I strongly suggest you retain counsel. Ms. Torres, you should do the same. There may be alienation of affection considerations here." They left. Daniel grabbed his keys and wallet, threw some clothes in a bag. Maya walked out without looking at me. When the door closed behind them, the house fell into absolute silence. "Are you all right?" Margaret asked gently. I realized I was still standing in the same spot, staring at the closed door. "No. But I will be." Good answer. She gestured to the kitchen table. Let's sit down. James is going to take photographs of the house. Document everything. You and I are going to make a list. Bank accounts, assets, anything that might disappear if we don't act fast. We spent 3 hours going through everything. Margaret was thorough. She had me pull bank statements, credit card records, investment accounts. James photographed every room, every piece of furniture, every item of value. When they finally left, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the kitchen floor. I hung up and blocked that number too. My mother called the next day. Maya is devastated. She wants to apologize properly. She wants to see you. No. Sasha, she's family. She stopped being family the first time she slept with my husband, Mom. I'm not interested in her apologies. I'm not interested in reconciliation. What she did was unforgivable. My mother was quiet for a long moment. You're right. I'm sorry. I hate seeing our family broken like this. Maya broke it. Not me. I know, sweetheart. I know. The divorce finalized exactly 2 weeks later. I signed the papers in Margaret's office, her paralegal witnessing my signature. It felt anticlimactic. 26 years of marriage ending with a few signatures on legal documents. How do you feel? Margaret asked. I thought about it. Lighter. Angry. Sad. Free. All of it at once. That's normal. Give yourself time to process. And Sasha. She smiled. You handled this with more dignity than most people could manage. You should be proud. I went home to my empty house. I walked through each room, opening windows, letting in fresh air. In the guest room where I'd found them, I stripped the bed, threw away the sheets, the pillows, everything. I repainted the walls a soft gray. I bought new curtains, new furniture. I erased every trace of what had happened there and turned it into a home office. In the master bedroom, I did the same. New mattress, new bedding, new artwork on the walls. The room became mine in a way it never had been before. I started going to therapy. Dr. Chen was patient and kind, helping me work through the betrayal, the anger, the grief. You're mourning 2 relationships, she said. A marriage and a sister. That's a tremendous loss. I feel stupid for not seeing it. You trusted people you loved. That's not stupidity, Sasha. That's humanity. The fact that they abused that trust says everything about them and nothing about you. Slowly, gradually, life found a new rhythm. I took up yoga. I joined a book club. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. I traveled, visiting cities I'd always wanted to see but Daniel had never been interested in. Paris, Barcelona, Rome. I sent postcards to myself, marking each adventure. 8 months after the divorce, I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop downtown. It was unavoidable in a town as small as Riverside. He looked worse than he had at the hearing, stress lines deep around his eyes. Sasha, he said, surprised. How are you? Fine. I didn't ask how he was. I didn't care. Listen, I just want to say, I'm sorry. For all of it. I know that doesn't mean much, but it's true. I looked at him, this man who'd shared half my life. I didn't feel the anger anymore. I didn't feel much of anything. I don't accept your apology, I said quietly. Not because I'm trying to hurt you, but because it doesn't matter. What you did can't be undone. The person I thought you were never existed. So your apology is meaningless to someone who doesn't know you. I walked past him without looking back. A year after the divorce, my mother called with news. Maya had moved to California. Some fresh start with a new job, new city, trying to escape her reputation in Connecticut. She asks about you, Mom said carefully. I don't want to know. I understand. But Sasha, for my sake, could you at least consider? No, Mom. I love you. But this isn't negotiable. What Maya did broke something that can't be fixed. You can have a relationship with her if you choose. But I won't. Ever. My mother sighed but didn't push further. She'd learned. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion to senior financial analyst. I bought a dog, a golden retriever I named Phoenix, because it felt fitting. I started dating again, cautiously, nothing serious. just remembering how to trust little by little. On what would have been my 27th anniversary, I took myself out to dinner at the nicest restaurant in town. I ordered champagne and lobster. I toasted to the woman I'd become, the one who'd survived betrayal and came out stronger. The waiter noticed I was alone. Special occasion? You could say that. I'm celebrating my freedom. He smiled. Congratulations. I drove home that night feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, not yet. But contentment. Peace. The knowledge that I'd survived the worst thing I could imagine. And I was okay. Better than okay. I was free. 2 years after the divorce, I started seeing someone. His name was Michael, a widower I'd met at a fundraiser for the local library. He was kind and patient, understanding when I needed space, never pushing for more than I was ready to give. I'm damaged goods, I told him on our 3rd date. My ex-husband had an affair with my sister. I have trust issues. I'm probably going to be suspicious and difficult. He took my hand across the table. We're all damaged, Sasha. The question is whether we let that damage define us or whether we use it to become stronger. You strike me as someone who chose the latter. Maybe he was right. 3 years after the divorce, I sold the house on Willow Lane. Too many ghosts, too many memories. I bought a smaller place near the harbor, with big windows and a view of the water. I painted the walls white. I filled it with plants and books and photographs of places I'd traveled. I made it mine from the ground up. My brother Marcus helped me move. As we carried boxes into the new house, he said, I'm proud of you, you know. The way you handled everything. Not many people could have done that. I didn't have a choice. Sure you did. You could have fallen apart. You could have stayed bitter. Instead, you rebuilt your life. That takes courage. I hugged him, grateful for family that hadn't betrayed me. For love that remained constant even when everything else fell apart. I never heard from Maya again. My mother mentioned her occasionally, updates I didn't ask for but didn't stop either. Maya apparently never married. Never found whatever she thought she'd find with Daniel. I didn't take satisfaction in that. I didn't take anything from it. Her life stopped being my concern the moment I found them together. Daniel remarried eventually. Someone he met through work. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd told her everything about our divorce, claimed he'd changed, sworn he'd never make those mistakes again. I hoped for her sake that was true. I hoped she never felt the way I'd felt, discovering that the person sleeping beside her was a stranger. 5 years after the divorce, I was happy. Genuinely. Fully happy. I had a career I loved, friends who valued me, a partner who respected me. I had Phoenix, who greeted me every day like I'd been gone for years instead of hours. I had a life I'd built from the ruins of my old one. Sometimes people ask me if I ever thought about reconciling with Maya. The answer was always the same. No. Some betrayals are too deep. Some wounds don't heal. She made her choice 3 years of choices, actually, and I made mine. I chose myself. I chose dignity. I chose to move forward without the people who'd hurt me. On my 59th birthday, I stood on the deck of my harbor house, watching the sun set over the water. Phoenix sat at my feet, tail wagging. Michael was inside, making dinner. I could hear him humming, could smell something delicious cooking. I thought about the woman I'd been 5 years ago, the one who'd walked into that guest room and watched her world shatter. I thought about how far I'd come, how much I'd survived. And I realized something important. The betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me. It had forced me to examine my life, to rebuild it in a way that made me happy instead of just comfortable. It had taught me that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined. I wasn't grateful for what Daniel and Maya had done. I'd never be grateful for that kind of pain. But I was grateful for who I'd become in the aftermath. For the life I'd created. For the woman staring back at me in the mirror now, confident and whole and genuinely content. I raised my glass to the setting sun, to the future, to myself. Happy birthday, Sasha, I whispered. You earned this. And I had. Every single moment of peace I'd found, I'd earned through tears and work and choosing, every single day, to keep moving forward. The past was behind me now. The betrayal, the divorce, the pain, all of it fading into memory. What mattered was what came next. And what came next was mine to decide. I walked back inside, into the warm light of my kitchen, into the life I'd built from nothing. Phoenix followed, tail wagging. Michael looked up and smiled. Ready for dinner? Ready, I said. And I was. Ready for dinner. Ready for whatever came next. Ready for the rest of my life, built on my own terms, surrounded by people who deserve to be there. The old Sasha, the one who trusted blindly and loved unconditionally, was gone. In her place was someone wiser, stronger, more careful with her heart. Someone who knew her own worth and wouldn't settle for less than she deserved. Someone who'd survived the unthinkable and came out the other side still standing. That was enough. That was everything. If you're listening to this and you've been through something similar, I want you to know something. You will survive this. It doesn't feel like it now, but you will. The pain will fade. The anger will cool. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you're actually okay. Maybe even happy. It takes time. It takes work. It takes choosing yourself over and over again, even when it's hard. But it's possible. I'm living proof. So keep going. Keep breathing. Keep moving forward. The life you deserve is waiting on the other side of this pain. You just have to be brave enough to reach for it. And you are. I promise you, you are brave enough. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you strength, or hope, or at least the knowledge that you're not alone. We're all just doing our best to survive and thrive despite the ways people have hurt us. And that, in itself, is an act of courage. Stay strong. Choose yourself. And never let anyone convince you that betrayal is your fault. It isn't. It never was. That's on them, not you. Now go build something beautiful from the ashes. You deserve it.